Hey folks, what is going on? It is Sunday night, 9 p.m. We have just finished up another weekend of New York City Football Club football. A lot of you guys probably have some comments to say in this case here. A match that for the first, about 65 minutes, I think was pretty solid overall. And then the wheels fell off in same kind of basic fashion we've seen probably the last couple of years. As always, going in this case is Haylon from Five Borough Footy. Sir, how are you?
What's up, man? How are you?
Doing all right. So, in this case, we're going to be looking at some of the footage from last night's match. Yes, we are going to be talking about that whole miscommunication between Thiago Martins and Matt Freese that got pretty ugly. I'm pretty sure by now they've more or less resolved all of that because it's one of those things at the heat of the moment. You lose, you give up 3 goals in the period of about a half an hour. And not even a half an hour, and the emotions run high in this particular case. So we're going to be looking at the footage on this. We're going to be looking at the matches that broke down. But while we do that, before we get going, how you doing? What are your thoughts? Give me what's on your mind, man.
Well, the first thing I want to address really is just like coming out, like at the end of that game. Obviously, we're all bummed, right? Especially to lose in that fashion. Meltdown is crazy. That's like when I saw the title of the preview. Meltdown is crazy. I feel like it's like I told you before we started. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like there's a lesson to extract from this, right? And this is also a test. The lesson is, listen, these guys scored 3 goals away in one of the more like highly attended stadiums on average.
We're going to talk about Thiago and all that in a second.
We're gonna get to Thiago, but it's 3 goals. It's 3 goals in one of the most heavily attended stadiums in the MLS, and playing away is one of the hardest things to do in any league, let alone the MLS. And so that's one thing I think they can extract from this is that they are, and they have been consistently dangerous in their away games up until this point. So that's one thing I think they can take away from this. And then the test I think here is obviously Pascal coming into the season spoke about a bulletproof mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's, can they look at this game as simply just a hiccup, as something that shouldn't tear them asunder, something that shouldn't, make them turn on each other, to David Lee, this has to be listening. This hire new coach. Yeah.
Well, this has been the ongoing thing. Like I said, right at the very top, this has been something that has been an issue for the last few years. We had discussed this, and I think it was a question I had for Pascal Janssen at one point, that the history of this team has been the struggle in the second half and the issues. And I felt like in conversations I had with like Matt Freese and Keaton, all this kind of stuff, they were resolving the stamina issue, that they were really pushing hard to make sure these kids can run a full 90. He even said 95. Sure, yeah. And I feel like that was back in Coachella. He said that,
it was,
so, yeah. So in this case here, I mean, you look at this team, you look at what's happening right now, I mean, it was 3 points that were literally standing in their hands.
It was in their hands. Yeah.
It was right in their hands the whole time. They've dropped down to 10th place now in the East behind the 9th place RBNY. And it was a great opportunity to get 3 points, against a division rival, who's right now, has had their struggles of their own big time. And,
one of the, it's about control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing a game out is about controlling the game, right? And when we think of control, what's one of the main ways that you control a game?
Control the ball, don't make mistakes, which Atlanta made a lot of last night. Yep, Atlanta made a ton of mistakes last night.
Atlanta did, but then they also made a lot of changes to their midfield to address that. And in the second half, they were much better as far as controlling the ball. And the best analogy I can make for that is, like, I don't know if you watch like pro fighting at all, like the MMA, the UFC or whatever, but like possessing the ball is like wrestling. It's like Dagestani wrestling. They don't necessarily, it's just really about smothering you, right? Give it a 3 winners, give Cushing decent signings. Also fucked over by Lee in the offseason
Yep.
of 23. He needs to stop playing. Yeah. He
And now, meanwhile, Nick Cushing's like, anyway, I'm back in my home country, and I'm just like crushing it over there. Which you and I talked about last week about why we feel like he's going to be okay over there.
yeah.
So,
But yeah, I just think that like when you're a team that purports itself to be like, a ball controlling possession based team, and you struggle to do that because Atlanta's press was getting to New York City pretty frequently last night.
mhm.
And if you struggle to do that, it just makes your entire game plan kind of come apart. And uh, that's what Atlanta kind of really took advantage of. Like, so basically, this game for me really speaks to the depth.
Mhm.
That's it. It speaks to the depth of the midfield. Like, our attackers are finding their form. Hannes, believe it or not, despite starting the season a little
Yeah.
rough, he's finally finding his form. Julian, he's still trying to find his place, and Ojeda is trying to find his rhythm too. But for the most part, our attackers are doing what we need them to do. Even Thiago, like in the New England game, he gave up that own goal, and Alec actually asked
Mhm.
after that Brad Simpson interview mentioned spending big money didn't get us there. Well,
Carlos Gil, I think somebody last week said something about Carlos Gil. So,
oh, well, Joseph, I'm not giving him the
yeah.
Ballon d'Or, but in fairness, he's one of the biggest goal contributors on the team right now.
So.
I
Oh,
mean, I
by
can't
the way,
deny
yeah.
numbers.
By the way, correcting on this, Cushing is 1-3. So yes, I was dead wrong. You're dead right on that. My bad. I own that one.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
no, I own that
yeah.
for real.
No,
That was
when you
on me.
said when
So
you
no,
said it, I was like, is he?
yeah,
I was like,
yeah, I know that was on me. So,
it's okay, it's okay.
but yeah, Hannes Wolf right now is at 3 goals for the season, and he had 5 all of last year. That one I know for a
How
fact.
many assists does he have?
Unknown at this point. Hang on a second. And by the way, we're
I'm,
going to basically be doing reaction to the goal to the.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's either second or third in goal contributions on the team right now.
He's second. He's
Which
second
is
to Martinez. He's at 1 assist of the season, by the way.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the team assists are up too, by the way, because they're at 4 assists on the season, and I forget
Mhm.
how long it took for them to get 4 assists last year, but I think it was definitely at least 8 games. So they're making progress out there.
Okay, let's the chat is going to be chat. Let's let's lock in here. The chat is going to be the chat. Let's lock in here.
All right.
So like basically I think it's like we lost control of the game because the midfield look, you have Johnny Shore in there, he's 17 years old. The kid
Mhm.
is decent. He actually holds his own pretty well. And obviously Keaton is Keaton and Maxi's Maxi. But if you really look closely, Maxi's 38. Keaton isn't exactly, he's not like
He's
a
27 or
world
28.
beating.
Yeah.
He's not, but I'm saying he's not a world beating midfielder. He's just
Mhm.
he's good at what he's good at. He's in his pocket, and that's what he's good at, right? But the type of midfield that we need it's a step above this. And I hear people mentioning Perea and what he could bring, and maybe he does add a little extra bite that the midfield might need. But um, I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think it's about trust. I don't think they
Mhm.
trust the kid enough. I don't think they trust Johnny Shore enough.
Give it
I
time though.
don't
I mean, at
think.
the end,
Huh?
give it time though. I mean, that was a heavy environment for that kid. For in front of, I think they only had 42,000 yesterday. I think yesterday for Atlanta, which is pretty low for them.
That's a lot more than New York is used to playing
Yeah.
in front of every time they're home. So yeah, Maxi had a rough game too. So Maxi, what I noticed was Maxi was kind of forcing a lot of long balls. So Maxi found himself forcing a lot of long balls, and I think it was because he wasn't being presented with a lot of options short with Keaton and Johnny. He wasn't trusting Johnny. Keaton wasn't really stepping up into those spaces. So
Well, I know that there was a tweet that went out by one of our colleagues, and then I'm going to use the Pascal Janssen phrase "colleague" here. That talked about the turf over there and everything like that being a factor. So should we load up that fourth goal? By the way, should we just take that? Just analyze that one, break it down.
Sure, if you want to, yeah.
All right. So okay, so here's goal number 4. This is, you can see the reaction from Thiago, who expected Matt Freese to come up in this case, and just straight goes at him. And Matt Freese is basically returning the favor by like, what the, both of them are going at the other. And I know a lot of it is pure frustration in this case here. They just gave up 3 goals. Freese was on his way to a win, and then all of a sudden gives up 3, which is going to kill his goal percentage. But there it is right there where you can see him in that moment where he's just like.
So my gut reaction to this, he has his hands out there signaling to Matt, right? But there's 2 things I want you to take note of. The distance from the goal, where they're outside of the box, and how high that ball bounced.
Yes.
Right? If that first bounce killed a little bit of the height, a little bit more, maybe Matt comes out instinctively.
He probably does.
Right? But because it bounced that high, I think he's thinking, no, I'm not going to risk that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, what do we know Thiago to do usually in that scenario? Thiago, he clears the ball. He will clear anything. He will kick a baby if it rolled onto the pitch at the wrong moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for him to not opt to clear it there, I can understand. Maybe you call for it for the first bounce, but once that first bounce happened and you glance up and he's not coming, you whack it.
Yeah, because right there, I think he also realizes, he's losing time in this case here too. But
I think the clearance was what was called for there, and especially considering that among those 3 guys in frame right now, Thiago initially had the most control over the situation.
Yeah.
As being the closest one to the ball. The one who had the least control actually was Matt. So I found it really interesting that he directed all this anger towards Matt for not coming out, when in reality, I'm not saying it's all on Thiago. Listen, Thiago's been one of our most consistent players, even last year when we were struggling. He was a very consistent defender. And always has been and likely always will be. But it's moments like this where, especially when you're wearing the armband, you just got to go, you know what? My bad. That's on me. Even if it's not your fault.
You cannot attack your players in that moment.
Even if it's not your fault, you got to go, you know what? That's on me.
Yeah.
That's on me. And to have the shouting match with Matt in that moment, it just was not a good look. And
he might, I wonder, this is a poll probably should be asked out there. Does he lose the armband next week because of this?
I was just about to say, obviously the next thought is, what is his eligibility as far as the captain? I think that's obviously for the team to decide. That's only for them to decide amongst themselves. For me, there needs to be some sort of accountability on his part, because when we spoke to him about that own goal,
all right, so what's your going rate in this case? How much would you need in this, yeah, I know. In this case, I think the phrase, concede the corner. Yeah, in this case, or at least take it back airborne and allow the rest of your team time to catch up.
Again?
I was going to say, in a worst case scenario, with a ball that high, if you're able to take it, just take it straight up. Buy yourself some time to get the rest of the teammates up there. Now
let me argue in favor of Thiago for 1 second.
Okay.
I get it. You back yourself in the physical competition of framing off the ball against Latte Lats, who seems pretty light in the ass, to be honest, right? He's not going to get around. He's thinking he's not going to get around me, right? And I understand why he backs himself in that moment, but on turf with a strike of that rapid and outside of the box, I'm not letting that ball bounce.
Yeah.
And if it bounces once and it looks like it's about to bounce again, I'm sprinting to kick it out, kick it clear. I don't care if I give up a corner. I don't care if I give up a throw in. Whatever the case is, I'm clearing it. And for him to allow for the ball to come down a second time, and I feel like if you look back at that clip, if you run it back again, a lot of his attention was over his shoulder. It wasn't on the ball. A lot of his attention, he kept glancing over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. You got to take in information, check your shoulders constantly. But the minute that he takes one or two glances and he can tell how far Latte is and how
Mm-hmm.
fast he's closing in on him, start that timer in your head and focus on the ball and focus on your keeper. What's happening there?
There we go. So
So
it's already over his head at this point too, which
he's
is another
shielding. Yeah,
problem.
Joseph makes a great point. He's shielding 25 yards from goal. That's
Yeah.
not the way that ball came down. It came down too vertical to be shielding. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's not gonna cover ground off of that bounce. And it's
Yeah.
also, we got to consider the fact that it's turf.
But in this case
Um,
here, this right here, when you see it, the arms out like this is actually slowing him down a little bit too, because it's also distracting him.
yeah,
This is one of those things that obviously I don't agree with the decision to do it after the play, but you're doing it during the play.
yeah.
That's the other problem here
And
too.
he should be committing his thinking to how do I put this fire out right now,
Yeah, in this case
and
here,
then maybe bark on him after.
he could blast that thing right into the upper tier
Yeah,
if you wanted
he could kick
to.
he could
Whatever
kick
you
the
got to
crap out
do,
of it.
just regroup. You concede the corner, but in this case here, unless maybe he's thinking there's an overconfidence factor where he can, this goal was not going to happen. It's pure shock.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So.
Yeah, but at the same time, Davi, I get that you're an emotional cat, bro. But this is not at all the appropriate reaction. I think we can all admit that it's like, that's on Tiago and he made the wrong decision. And his reaction afterwards kind of is questionable as a captain because he should be taking that on the chin. But that all said, I don't think we need to all be up in arms and talking about taking away the armband and all this. Like, he's been a sturdy, sturdy captain for this team for a long time.
I think he's, in this case here, he probably had a conversation privately with Matt and probably Pascal Janssen, because that's what I would have done in that situation.
I'm sorry, say again?
I think probably afterwards, he and Matt Freese probably had a conversation privately. Maybe Rob or maybe Pascal Janssen or anybody that was there alongside it, just to kind of clear the air and clean everything out.
I keep trying to tell you this story about when we asked him about the own goal. You want to hear this?
Even when I asked last night?
No. What Alec asked him about the own goal after the New England game in the mix-up.
Okay.
So he asked him about the own goal, and he asked him, what are the things that you do after a moment like that to kind of just find your calm again, right? Find your confidence again. And Tiago went on to mention, like, he knows what the media and the fans are going to say, that he's a DP. Basically, literally, he all the comments that are being...
I actually do remember that, yes. I do remember
all the comments that are being made right now, he called that. He said that's exactly what they do when I have an error. And what they don't realize is that in 100 games, I have 2 own goals, right? Which is damn good numbers, if we're being honest. But, what I didn't really like about... and he then went on to...
We're going to talk about the own goal in a minute, by the way.
Yeah, we are going to talk about the own goal. But
I got the video.
What I didn't like about that is it felt a little bit like of a lack of accountability, right? Because he spent all of last year when we had bad runs, he was one of the most consistent ones that showed up in the mix zone. And he would always say, yes, the team needs to do better. We need to go into practice and work hard. And that's our fault and our fault and our fault. He would take a lot of responsibility, right? He would even take some onto himself, some that wasn't even his to take, right? But he did it as a captain. So when it came to this own goal, I expected sort of the same, right? I expected him to say, hey, yeah, it's hard to tell, when the right time is to intervene or when to let a ball run. You don't know if the keeper can get to it. It's just a hard decision to make in a moment. And no matter what you do, you're going to get criticized. And in this case, I made the wrong decision. And, we move, right? I know the guys back me, kind of thing. Like, that's the kind of answer I expected.
Yeah. Can you put the link down below? I actually want to try and put that up if I can. So, I'm kind of
curious. I'll go from behind in that.
So, yeah, the own goal, I may as well bring that one up in this case.
Yeah, sure.
I've got the own goal here too.
But I would not. I disagree with that, Joe. I would not say that he's one of the more accident-prone players that's ever played for this team.
Yeah.
If anything, he saved our ass quite a few times.
Yeah. So here's the own goal here. Now,
Oh, the Keaton on goal.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting that like, Thiago's getting more heat than Keaton is right now.
because it's the goal that gave up the lead. At this point, I mean, you were still up by 1. I think so.
But still, right? If we're gonna single out errors, which really what we should be doing is singling out all of the team's collective errors over the course of the entire game,
This match
right?
was sloppy on both sides, big time.
Why are we singling out Thiago's mistake over Keaton's mistake? Because that goal made it 3-2, and it kind of gave them a little bit of momentum.
It's Bob Stanley versus Bill Buckner. I think it was Bob Stanley. Whoever the pitcher was that gave up the wild pitch to Mookie Wilson that tied the game in 1986 for the Mets in Game 6. Everybody remembers Buckner for losing the game, but nobody remembers the pitcher that threw the wild pitch that caused, I believe it was Kevin Mitchell to score.
Yeah, well,
It's one of those
none
things. Yeah.
I just think we yeah, it's super complicated. Is that that goes on Tiago. It hangs on Tiago's neck and it needs to. And I would love to see him make some sort of comment about it. He won't. There's no opportunity for him to, but it would be good for the team morale if he said. I mean, hopefully they have a private conversation, but hopefully at practice he then spoke about it and
Yeah.
squashed it and buried the hatchet with Maddie, right? But as far as public perception, it didn't look great for Tiago to seemingly put the blame all on Maddie. That when in reality, I'd say 80% of that moment is within Tiago's control. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, in hindsight, maybe Matt Freese could have come up a little closer on that. Maybe he could have.
Maybe. Listen, I was telling Trey last night. I said if I'm Matt and I see that ball bounce and I see Tiago framing a guy off at 25 yards
Mm-hmm.
out, I'm taking the chance. I'm sprinting out.
Yeah,
Right?
I
I'm
mean,
taking the chance. But that's not Matt.
but see, also, if you look at the distance right there, for example, of how
Hmm.
far away Matt Freese is in that moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for real.
maybe, obviously in this case here, and this is a miscommunication issue, which could have done, and again, hindsight's always, more than 2020.
Headed back
Is
to him.
if you have Tiago literally play blocker in that moment, if you can.
Hmm.
If you can get away with it, buy a couple of seconds for Matt Freese to get up there. I mean, he's trained as a goalkeeper to close the percentage, to get in tight on this. But I think even in this case, I think that's too far for him to go, with
Yeah,
someone bearing down that close. So,
100%. 100%.
I
And
mean,
goal on Thiago was way more brain dead. The Keaton goal is unlucky. Yeah, it's very much unlucky. It's just as unlucky as Thiago's own goal against New England, for sure.
and again, in this
Um,
case here, the Keaton goal, the team still had the lead at that point because again, this was a
mhm,
very, very sloppy match, even on the other side. So
yeah.
here is goal number 3, and you can see the turnover. Both teams honestly played a shit game.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, look
Like
at
that touch right
yeah,
there, he just gave that up.
yeah, and that's then again, it's funny because if NYCFC wins, Hannes Wolf is player of the match. I think everybody would
Yeah,
agree with that.
yeah, for sure,
I mean, it was just
for
a
sure.
good. It was, in this
And
case here, you
and
got that.
and Joseph, you will not find a bigger criticizer of Hannes Wolf than me. I literally said out loud, I'm selling my Hannes stock. Uh, but I mean, you can't argue math. You can't argue, global warming. He's actually been putting up goals and he's got an assist and he's a contributor and you can't argue against that. That's facts, right? So, and if you mentioned something about those who know ball and have game IQ, people
Mhm.
with game IQ also change their mind given new information. So the new information is Hannes is finding his form.
I think in this case here, the team is also in general just playing a lot more aggressive, which has
That
helped a
that
lot too.
was
So,
see that last comment right there lets me know exactly that if there's very little luck in situations like that.
mhm.
That's instinct. That's repetition. That's knowing where the chances are, where the dangerous areas are, and choosing to inhabit those spaces in the off chance that the ball comes to you. So to kind of diminish that to luck is, I think, a limitation of your scope of the game.
I
But
think
it's okay.
here's what I'm going to say. I think the team in general has played a lot more aggressively because there's a lot more scoring off rebounds than there was in the past couple of years, and I think that has something to do with this. I think their approach has been a lot more aggressive in this case, and maybe in that result, it has caused 2 own goals in the first part of the season. I looked it up last night. The team has never actually had 3 own goals in a season. They've had 2 a few times throughout the career, but they've never had 3. And this early in the season, they've only got 2. So could we get a third based on this approach? What numbers would dictate they could give up 3, 4, or 5 this year? So you got to,
and that's very true, man.
Yeah, and you saw the damage it did last night. They beat New England, but that was the first goal New England had all year. Before they finally scored a goal of their own eventually. I mean, I think it's funny with Hannes Wolf. You see a kid right now that he did say in a press conference.
How do you not highlight that comment?
I was actually, what it was, because I was looking at the viewership numbers in the moment. So
he goes, "Oh, werewolf!" I love that.
So
I love that.
But what was I going to say? I mean, in this case here, he did say he's a lot more comfortable this season than last. And the team has 9 goals this season. 4 Alonso Martinez, 3 are Hannes Wolf. So that's impressive for year 2 for both guys in this case, really. If you think about it, I mean, Alonso's not, we'll call him year 2 in this case, but.
I sold my Hannes stock even after that game where Julian crossed the ball to him for the header. I still sold my stock after that game, and it was because I felt like what I was seeing wasn't good enough. But it might be the same thing. I actually this ties into Thiago. Thiago didn't have a preseason. He's playing catch up as far as form, and you could tell when he had his first return, he clearly looked a little rusty. He was not as quick as we were used to him being. His touches were a little sloppy. So, I think he's playing a little bit of catch up when it comes to form, and that was a little bit demonstrative of that. That fourth goal was a little bit demonstrative of that. I think he's just trying to still find his feet, get his feet under him, and unfortunately, a game was lost because of it. But a lot of the results this season are kind of have that theme of like, I know this game looked bad, but there's actually a lot of positive to take from it.
There is positive on the offensive side. I mean, the team hasn't had 3 goals this season. It was the first time. So there was a good chance. They were right up front against a team like Atlanta, who has struggled defensively. This was as good a chance as you were probably going to get. And I think I threw a tweet up there about that last night. But in this case here, they're up to this point. Also, their defense had been pretty solid. So to give up, they'd never given up 3 of the season. To give up 4, I mean, I'm not sure in this case here what that drops down Matt Freeze's save percentage to, but I can't imagine it's got to be solid here. All right, he's at 66.7 right now. 9 goals in 6 games. It's not bad, but not great. That's not the Matt Freeze level we had last year, where he was 80 something or 77 something.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I had that feeling watching the game so far. Is like his substitutions either seem too late or not what the team needed given the game state. But then there have been substitutions that there've been calls that he's made that are exactly what the team needed, like starting Johnny Shore or bringing in Maximo and Seymour Reed. Yeah, it didn't yield anything, but it got these kids real life like game experience. You know what I mean? Not in some fluff game, not a preseason game, not a game that we're already up 4-0, but a contest. You know what I mean? So I don't know how to feel about it just yet. I don't think he's so terrible at it.
I don't think. I mean, in this case, you're up 3-1. You've by and large left the same roster in. Until 80th minute right there. Then I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
this one probably should have been made earlier.
Yeah, but I think.
And then the Burt for Keaton is not a great one either. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah.
No, it's okay. I mean, I think with Keaton right now, I mean, who knows how his gameplay. what we didn't see on camera after giving up that goal. And I think mentally that was part of the challenge that existed there. And I think I don't have a problem with Burt going in. I personally don't. So, first time scores 3 goals and lost a match. It's funny. I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, Haylon, I don't remember if you guys remember this, but when Ronnie Dylo was still with the team, NYCFC had a 5-4 win against Toronto back in 2022. And somebody, I forget who it was, asked him, would you rather win 5-4 or 1-0? And he said, I would always rather win 5-4, but I don't think my heart can take it. And I was watching that last night when it was a 4-3 win, and I'm thinking to myself, does he still feel that way right now? So
that's what confuses me sometimes, right? The maxi take. Joseph has demonstrated a lack of faith in Hannes. He said he has slow foot speed and all of this. Why would you put him into the 10? Hannes for me is exactly where he needs to be and can't be anywhere else. He's a left-sided, left-footed winger. You put a left footer on the left, they're going to go down the line. They're going to be very direct. They're going to go downhill, right? If you invert him on the right, which Cushing did a lot, that's asking him to cut inside and slow the game down and kind of be an orchestrator. Hannes isn't very good at that. He's not that guy.
I mean, right? I guess the question remains in this case here, if Santi Rodriguez, was still with the roster, how would that have affected last night too? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, listen, people are making the question about, like James Sands, what would have happened there? I mean, you could put Malachi Jones. You could put a lot of what ifs into something like this. So maybe I shouldn't even, or Tavon, who's been injured on and off, and he's had a rough go of it the last couple of years himself. But I mean, I think that's the question is in this case here, how much does the team grow from this? Because they know that they had it right in their fingers.
I think it's definitely a discouraging result, but you cannot just balk at scoring 3 goals in Atlanta, in Mercedes-Benz. You can't just act like that's nothing. You know what I mean? I would take some pride at that. I would take some pride that we scored 3 goals away. And because last season we struggled to do that. Even at home.
Let me take a look at this. In home matches, see, NYCFC has never actually scored 3 goals against Atlanta, actually ever. Last night was the first time ever. Matches against Atlanta, let's see, going all the way back to 2017, 3-1 loss, 2-2 draw, 3-1 loss, 2-1 loss, 1-1 draw, 2-1 win, and then 2 draws, and then the loss last night. A lot of draws against Atlanta in general. Boy, there's a lot of draws. So.
Or Maximo. Maximo needs more.
This is regular season. I'm just looking. You know what it is? I'm looking at Facebook ref. Was this a Leagues Cup thing or something like that? So.
4-1.
So. I probably could look at MLS Live. Football Ref is the fastest one that I can pull up on screen a lot of times. But now in this case here, you got a match up against Minnesota United coming in. Who, by the way, can I state for the record, I really don't like their uniform at all. Dude, you got a literal target on your chest, man.
Their uniform has historically been bad since the inception.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you look at this. Yeah.
Like I said,
I just got to get this out of my system here. So.
Oh my goodness, they look. You know what they look like with that gray and the circle on their chest. You know the gray putties from Power Ranger. Actually, my first question is, would Shino come back? I mean, I think the beef was more with Nick Cushing than the team itself. So maybe, but here's the question that I've got.
You know, I mean, given how things ended out in France, you know, and NYCFC, how much of this could have been on Chanel, you know, and how much of this would be the legacy of Chanel, and would he even want to come back?
Well, I mean, I don't know the specifics of it, but I remember hearing that he had some issues with his national team as well, like the
Yeah,
coaches there, something like that. And I mean, you always look at the common denominator, right? It's if it's the same case wherever this person goes, then maybe they're the problem. But at the same time, Nick was a very I don't know if he had the respect of every single person in the locker room. And I think Chanel was one of the ones who might not have had the most respect for him. So
by the way, just to clarify this, I was looking at road matches. That 4-1 win was a home match. So,
well, Joe, I mean, Joe said he's not playing left center back over Risa. He shouldn't. You should want a left-footed center back there, but many teams start right-footed left center
mhm.
backs all the time. Um, so that's not completely out of the question.
Yeah, good thought on this one. And actually, you know, you had me worried for a slight second there, but uh, Mitria, by the way, actually getting a hat trick on that. And remember Eber? God, I missed that. I missed that dude. He was so much fun. So,
Ever kind of reminds me a little bit of. I mean, he's Brazilian, right?
yes, he's Brazilian.
Yeah.
Played for Seattle, then went down to South America somewhere. I think he's in China now, or at least he was in China at one point. I forget where
The
he is
way
now.
he played was very Firmino,
Hmm.
Bobby Firmino.
Dude, he was so much fun at the when they got the key to the city after the championship, because he's sitting there with a selfie stick. He's got the whole look going on. So that's a
Davi said Nick Cushing burned bridges with Chanel and Tallis. He burned bridges with a lot
yeah.
more. When Nick Cushing left the team, not a single one of them put up a good, farewell Gaffer, goodbye Nick. It's been great. Like not a single one of the players did that. I found that very telling. I
Yeah.
found that very, very telling. Now, granted, the club is they're very tightly wound when it comes to public relations. So maybe there was some sort of memo that was sent out to the players that no one posts anything.
Mm,
But I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. So in this case here,
Oh,
yeah.
Matt actually posted something. Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
So
I didn't see
yeah.
that.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. No, in this case here, NYCFC has only beaten Atlanta, you know, once on the road. The 4-1 win was a home match back in 2019. But yeah, it's 2022 that they beat. Let's see, was that under? Okay, yeah, that was a Nick Cushing match there back in the day. Yeah, Nick Cushing, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Anyway, so there we go. More or less on the same page, but so in this case, looking forward a little bit, it's a mess of a situation to some degree. It'll be interesting to see how they handle playing against Atlanta because,
Minnesota, you mean?
oh my God. Do you ever have one of those days where you just like wake up off your game?
It's fine, man.
You're not allowed to have them in this line of work. I'll tell you that right now.
You you've never had an off day? I
Oh, I
have
have
them
off
all the
day. I
time.
have off days all the time, but usually for the most part, I can get away with new guys aren't even aware of it. So anyway, we apologize for that. Sorry. So
Oh,
uh,
gee.
yeah, I know.
Um,
I'm a
I
bad egg
think I
fan.
think I think how we respond against Minnesota is going to say a lot. Mm, I actually think we're going to respond really, really well. I think
Mhm.
the team actually has found its attacking potency a little
Mhm.
bit. I think Minnesota, you know, they're going to struggle away. They're going to struggle in New York. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a good result for New York, to be quite honest.
You know, I mean, there's the record, by the way, against Minnesota United across the board, both home and road. So
Say again?
there's the record versus Minnesota, both home and road. There's not a whole lot of matches in there at this point.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising they haven't played too often in this case here, but you know, but they lost at City Field 2 years ago. I don't remember that match. Do you?
No, I do not.
Yeah, but it's interesting because they've only played twice at home against Minnesota at this point. Angelo Rodriguez, most assists. Ismail Tajuri Shradi. God, I missed that name. They did that kid wrong, basically, because they told him, he's
Yeah.
like, by the way, we're letting you go. By the way, thank you. You're getting the key to the city in a couple hours. We're also letting you go after this game or after this event.
Wow.
Dude,
We
it broke that kid. Neither did
that
that.
needs that this club does not handle player departures well.
Yeah, they think they did that.
They do
David
not.
Medina that year too. So, but I think getting back to Yankee Stadium, I think will do some good in this case here. A Sunday match, Sunday afternoon match. By the way,
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but the afternoon matches, I love them so much more.
I love the afternoon matches, man.
I'm not sure if we're going to do
Yeah.
this tomorrow. That's Sunday night, but
Right.
But I would, in this case here, the 3:00 matches. I know Joe Tollison loves it because it's a traffic thing. Because he comes out from like Eastern Bergen County, and he'll talk about the fact that go to Yankee Stadium will take him like 12 minutes with no traffic. So before the Apple TV era, when we had all those 1:00 starts, it was
How
great.
do we feel about Munsef?
I'm a defender, but I mean, here's the thing. Listen, I know. I don't listen.
You're
I'm
like
not
you're
as
like
strong.
you're
I'm not as strong on the kid as I used to be. I know. He's one of those kids I'm
like
just
a
like rooting for.
Kingsguard.
Dude, I
You,
know. I'm rooting
you
for him.
refuse to drop your sword. Like put it. It's okay. Put it
Listen,
down.
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
He's a bad
This is
player.
all I've got here, so we're gonna use the marker in this case here. I'm gonna actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go full defensive mode here. And I'm gonna keep it out like this for defense purposes, to defend myself. I'm not gonna go in and tight. I'm not gonna go inside. I'm gonna go in defensive mode. I also am aware of the fact that basically, I don't think he's built for New York, and I'm going to attack mode deliberately right now with the sword, because in this case, this is as much as you're going to get out of me. He may not be right for the team, but I love the crap out of the kid. And that's the other side of it too. He was only out there for a couple, like 4 minutes. When you're already behind by 1 too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The fact is, I genuinely think Munsef is simply he's not pro enough for this level.
Yeah.
Really, really that simple.
He's a nice
Like,
person. He actually really is. You don't want to hug him.
he's a nice guy, but we're not talking about who he is as a person. We're talking about who he is as a player. And as a player, he's a bad player. It's okay to say that. It was. Hold on, by the way, really quick. You could talk about form and you could talk about quality. We gave him the benefit of the doubt that it was just form, that it was yips, and that an off season would reset him. He's had 2 off seasons to reset.
And now a new coach.
And a new coach. I think we can safely say he's not a very good player. Would he cook in the USL? Maybe. Would he cook in a lesser league? Absolutely. Absolutely. But from what I can tell, he's not a complete enough player or striker to be able to play at the highest level. And I consider MLS to be one of the highest levels.
Highest in the U.S., yeah. Now, see, it's funny. I'm looking at Tylus last year. Tylus's number. He had 14 matches for Corinthians and scored 6. That's not bad.
See, look, Wes. Look at what Wes said. I defend Bakar too. He's maybe got a major case of the yips. He needs work. He's definitely not average. I don't know if you're saying he's definitely not average, as in he's better than average, or that he's below average. And as far as the major case of the yips, that's been the number one defense by Bakar defenders for 2 years now.
Yeah, I know.
You can't have the yips for 2 years.
Actually, once you get the yips for 2 years, you got them for life, pretty much.
If you have the yips for 2 years, it's no longer the yips. At what point is it no longer the yips, and it's just how your quality? At what point? And it feels mean to say it because he's a nice kid. He's not a jerk. Like Jovan, for instance, same thing. Very below average player, or at least just not good enough for this level. But because he's he seems to be kind of a jerk, right? We were all more comfortable saying it.
Wow.
Hit the post, insane, brother.
By the way, those are Baccarar's numbers. By the way,
Where at?
oops, there we go.
2024. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Wow.
2023, he had 10 starts too. 3 goals actually at that point wasn't too bad. And that was in a season where they just scraped missing the playoffs.
By the way, I reserve my right to criticize Bakar because I wrote an entire piece about, like, I included him, but I did
Mm-hmm.
research on the kid to like really assess
Yeah.
what are the things that he's good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's good at certain things. Like in the modern game, strikers can't just score goals anymore. They have to do a lot more. They got to press, they got to help possession, they got to do a lot of things. Bakar was by and large for most of last season one of the best pressers of the ball and duel winners in the attacking third among all the strikers. So, and considering this that was the style of play that we were playing last season, which was a counter pressing, direct style of play, he did fit that, but he needed to finish. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're not going to finish, you got to at least be able to create chances for others. And I don't know if he's very good at that either. So, yeah,
Um,
he hustles. He's got a good tank, but you know, so does so does a beagle. Yeah. But would you trust a beagle to lead your lion? No.
yeah. Well,
Hustle is not enough, unfortunately.
yeah.
Not in the modern game, not at this level. You
Well,
need, like, even looking at Alonso, right? Alonso was strictly hold on, sorry. Alonso was primarily a goal scorer last season, and when it came to being in possession of the ball, he wasn't very good at it. He really wasn't really good at build up or creating chances for others. Now, coming into this season, Alonso is very good on the ball. He's helping progress the ball in
mhm.
very efficient ways. So, and then add that to his what seems to be him maintaining his standard of goal scoring from last season. You have an evolved player. You have a player that's improved over the course of a season and a half, right? So I don't see any development amongst it. If anything, I see a drop off.
So this raises the question: how much longer does he stay?
I think this is
Summer?
his last. I think this is his last season. If the
You think?
club knows what they're doing, um, yeah, this is his last
Mm.
season. And Joe, he was not good on the ball last night, and he's not good on the ball in general. He loses the ball very, very regularly. His carrying numbers, he loses a lot of his take ons. Yeah, like when I say that he's a
That
bad
I can see
player.
that. That's what I was thinking. In this case, I was talking summer. Yeah,
Oh, Summer. Oh, okay.
could be. I mean, I think there's teams in Europe that would take him, and I think he's one of those kids that I think probably feels more secure, closer to a home environment.
The problem with how this club does business, and I don't know too much about it to be honest. I just know, like, X's and O's. But the way that this club seems to do business is that if they're not going to make a profit on the player, they're going to hold him hostage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're going to make a profit on Munson, so I can't see them willingly letting him go, outright sold to another team,
So
Um,
you're going to pull a Jovan like they did last year.
say again?
They're going to do it with Jovan and just have him ride the bench the entire time, or give him 3 minutes a game.
Either have him ride the bench, or what have they done with was Jovan sold or was he loaned?
I think he was loaned to Belgium.
Exactly, because they were not going to get a fee that was going to justify what they paid for him.
You know
So
what?
loaning him to help increase his value so that they could. I think this club is very about their money, man. Very much about their money. They're gonna, if anything, they're gonna loan Munsef. That to me is the only likelihood because they're not gonna get a fee that will help them break even.
Hmm.
They're just not.
Yeah, I wonder how Jovan's doing over there.
Jovan's not doing so great.
He's not
For the
all right.
record,
Yeah, I haven't
yeah,
looked his numbers up. So
he's not doing so great as expected. Because yeah, no, but I mean, duh, right?
yeah,
Right? I get that. Of course, that's a duh moment.
yeah.
That's obvious.
No, I know.
But what
But
I'm saying, some are more so a business than others.
I think in this case here, I think some team will find some team will basically. I think in the summer will trade for him. I really do. I think they'll make a deal. Maybe it'll be a loan or something like that. But I think some team will take him on over the summer. I really say it.
He got subbed on and got a RC. What's an RC?
But wait, did he? Did he get a red card? No.
Oh, a red card.
Oh,
Gotcha,
you mean
gotcha.
Jovan? Probably. Maybe we're talking
Oh,
Jovan.
I think he means Jovan. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a it. Like I said, going back to that statement. Of course, it's a business. You got to put the business shit aside and just let people go for the sake of the club or play. You see,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard trying to ride that line properly because you're running a business, but at the same time, sometimes what's best for the business is to take a loss, is to take a
Hmm.
hit right in the moment, so that in the long run, you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So, and I just don't think that's how they see it, and so that's what I mean by they look at it very much as a zero sum game. Like they only want to make a profit, and if they can't, then they're gonna hold them hostage. Even with
Jovan.
Tallis, right?
Oh yeah.
Tallis, even with Tallis, they set the bar really high for what they would be willing to even entertain as a fee for him. And if no one was willing to meet that, the way Tallis was ever gonna leave is on a loan.
Well, in this case, also they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with Tallis anyway because they
Yeah,
tried.
sure.
The team tried so hard to make him a striker, and he was not designed for that. I mean,
Oh, Joe hit the nail. Please put that up. That is the proverbial nail on head. The arrogance to not invest. You look at every single major winning team of the last decade, which I did, but because I'm a psycho, and every single one of them has MLS veterans who either were always they continue to be parts a major part of winning teams after that, or they won the cup multiple times. You look at Marky Delgado. Marky Delgado
mhm.
is not anything particularly spectacular if you're talking about a player. But when you're talking about mentality, when you're talking about know-how, when you're talking about work ethic, that's what you want in your midfield. A Marky Delgado in our midfield last night, that game ends 3-1 or 3-2. Honestly. Kai Kamara, yeah, absolutely.
There. So if you guys can read that,
What's this?
Kay Kamara has played for what every single team in MLS with the exception of NYCFC anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, again, but what KP said, Bakar works hard.
Yeah.
He's not clicking. I mean, like I said, I think he just doesn't have a professional level of understanding of the game. I
Mm.
think he has a very elementary, very it's almost schoolboy level of understanding of the game. I genuinely think this. Like there's no inventiveness
Hmm.
or cleverness to his game. He's very direct, very readable, very predictable. And you can't not at this level. You can't do that. Not against the Miles Robinsons of the world. Against the you know what I mean? You have to have a trick or two, a plan B for your plan A.
Well, that's the other side of it too. It's the investment side, and I think you got to wonder in this case here if they were more privately owned, would there be a difference in this? And it probably would be. But remember, they are
Yeah.
part of the giant CFG umbrella, so a lot of
Yes.
their orders as a team come from England.
The investment aspect of it, see, it's crazy to me that they don't see it this way. You bring an MLS veteran into a team, and what you get is an example.
Hmm.
If you're a team that like New York, who okay, we're about developing young players. When it comes to the development of young players, you surround them with veterans.
Hmm.
You surround them with some sort of source, right? It can't just be the coach because it's kind of like who our parents give us advice all the time, right? but sometimes our cool uncle, who's closer to our age, says the same thing to us, and
Hmm.
then we're more willing to follow the advice then because it's not dad, right?
Yep.
Sorry, but do you remember him? Yeah,
Hmm.
Eric Miller, the right back. He's can no, is he American or Canadian? I can't remember. I think he's American. Yeah, I liked Eric. Yeah, I liked Eric Miller. I like that. I mean, I like presently Eric Miller. He's always been like a solid. There's always those names, right? There's the Matt Polsters, the Urrutis, you know, those guys who you've seen uh they've been in the league for years and played for
Hmm.
many good teams, and they add value. Whether it might not be the direct value of you buy them for one fee, you sell them for a greater fee, and you make a profit off. It might not be that type of value, but that's not the only value that you get in the game.
Hmm.
That's not the only value in the game. Um, there's other value looks many different. It looks like many different things. In their prime or young, struggle to speak English if they come from a country that doesn't. Are you
You
guys
can.
on Sunday or mostly Sunday?
Would you argue that maybe Thiago's a vet at this point because he just turned he literally turned 30 like 2 weeks ago?
Again?
Could you argue Thiago would be considered a vet because he just hit 30 years old? I can say yes to that, but still, I mean
Vet, vet, vet,
that's a cusp thing. So
vet to me is it's a two-pronged thing. It's obviously age, but it's also how much time have you spent within the respective league that you're talking about.
yeah,
Um,
well, yeah,
like a
2022 I think
veteran,
he came out, right?
a veteran,
Yeah.
a veteran could be 25 years old because they've been in the league for 5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I mean
Um,
that's close to a full 4 years there.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say he's a veteran. I'd say he's
Yeah.
absolutely a veteran. Yeah, I'd say he's absolutely a
That's a
veteran.
different thing. Well, listen, veteran does not mean basically right or wrong. It's just basically would you qualify them as a player, as a veteran? Yes. There's
Hmm.
a saying in business that says leaders do not show hurt, doubt, or fear. That is the general rule of thumb. And
Mm.
that's, yeah, MLS vet is 5+ years. Okay. I mean, valid, yeah, but I think,
Wait, 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 wait.
4 years in
I
J in
love,
J
I love,
League.
I love how Joe is. He's like, no, this is the line.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny because in this case with Yokohama with the F Marinos, they play in a stadium very similar to Yankee Stadium because Nissan Stadium is the
Mm,
biggest stadium in Japan, and they have that same sort of thing where it's like you draw 25,000, but it looks empty because the stadium can fit 55 or 50 or whatever the math is. So
mhm.
I would count that in this case that he would qualify there. Um,
MLS veteran to me is like I said,
this is
it's
his
it's
fifth
the length of
or
time
fourth
that
season.
you've been in the league, your age,
Mm,
and the quality of your time here, right?
yeah.
One of the MLS veterans who I think is the consummate, like the best example of that, they just mentioned him, Kai Kamara.
Hmm. Oh
Like
yeah.
he is when you talk about what it looks like to just bring in a guy who can bring value to your team. As I'm climbing for is like
Kay
7 plus.
Kamara has had obviously what 13 foot is what 15 years in the league something like that.
Yeah,
He's played for like 15 teams too, which is, you know, um,
I loved him on Sport in Kansas City, man. He was a
mhm.
problem. He was a problem.
Wait, actually,
But yeah,
actually,
that's one of the things you need, man. You need those guys, those like blue collar and guys, the company guys, so to speak. An
mhm,
MLS vet is a company guy to come in. They know how it works. They
mhm,
know how it works, and they know the habits of certain teams, and they just can school the youngsters. And I get it. It's a great business model to buy potential young players with a lot of potential and sell them for profit.
mhm,
I get it, guys. Right? But New York City FC is not a laundromat. It is not a
mhm,
money laundering business. They need to consider the product that they're putting out. And right now, from a business aspect, it's making the on-field product suffer.
yeah. He just, by the way, Kay Kamara just re-signed with LAFC 4 days ago.
Oh, did he?
He was there. He was there last season. I just saw the update on this. Yeah, he just re-signed with them, so he'll enter the lineup pretty quickly.
Oh, so they're out on Giroud then,
Mhm.
which makes sense. But you know what? Giroud brought his value too. Because it's not like they were expecting to sell Giroud for some major fee, right? You buy Giroud because it's Olivier Giroud and it's gonna put butts in seats and sell jerseys. That's
Mhm.
it. And that's all part of the business model, right? So I don't understand why we can't do business kind of similar to LAFC. Maybe we tweak the dials a little bit and lean more towards investing in the youth. But I just can't imagine why we don't bring in recognizable names, MLS veterans. It's just crazy that we don't even try to do that.
Unless, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, all
I
these
don't I don't think so.
these decisions a lot of times just come down from like I said, a lot of them just come down from England. So David Lee, even Brad Sims, I feel like are a lot of times just middle management. So I have to wonder how much of a play CFG as a whole has on a lot of this stuff.
Dom, I just missed those comments from Joey. Dom Dwyer,
Right.
Juan Agudelo, Mason Toy, all of them serious MLS veterans. Like
Mhm.
it's very it I can't emphasize it enough. They are so important to the chemistry of a winning MLS
Mhm.
team.
Seymour Reed, yeah, give him some time in this case. Give Johnny Short time. Give these kids a chance to develop. But this does open up the question in this case here too. Is when he is healed, does James Sands come back again? Third.
Actually, I mean, I think we talked about this. I'm not sure.
Did we? Hmm.
This was no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm about to
Carlos
say is that
Carlos
like
Gill comes up again. Yeah.
um, Jimmy coming back into this team improves this team, but I want a player who wants to be here. And
Yeah.
Jimmy, it feels, and this is not a criticism, or maybe it is, I don't really care. It feels like Jimmy is using the team to fulfill his aspirations beyond the MLS. And you've had two tries, and I get it, injury, you can't predict an injury, but
I've heard something similar. Yeah. Summer also.
till July, I'm not sure how true
Yeah.
that is.
But I mean, I honestly at this point, you thought after the whole issue with the Rangers and riding the bench and all that kind of stuff, he came
Right.
back and then he signed the deal with NYCFC. You know,
Hmm.
it's like okay, you dipped your toe in the water. Maybe you realize, well,
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes you got to go somewhere else to find out where home is.
sure.
So, and that's where I was a little surprised when he went back out again. Yes, he did express
Yeah.
his interest in that at the end of last season, but I think that's also what he was supposed to say in that moment. Kind of.
For me, if I'm him, and my agent comes to me and says, "Hey, the best I could get for you is a loan to FC St. Pauli." I'm like,
Hmm.
"No, I'm good. Let me just
Yeah.
play out another season here. Let me see." Because what I want, if I really have aspirations for Europe, what I want is a permanent transfer to a major league,
Hmm.
to a really really good league, right?
Well, I mean,
And
at this.
maybe it's to a middle of the park team. Maybe it's to you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's to a middle of the table team, but
Mhm.
it's not to FC St. Pauli. I'm
Well,
sorry,
see,
it's just
also
not.
now that this is he's failed basically twice. If you want to consider the injury a failure, there may not be any European team that would take a look at him again.
Exactly.
I mean,
Now you're damaged. That's
you're
even worse.
you're looking at probably 3 years in MLS to basically undo the last couple years in Europe. You need to basically really showcase your talent and show that what happened was just pure unbridled luck before a team in Europe is going to say, okay, you know what, we'll give him a shot now.
And how often does this happen? Like we've seen a guy. I've seen guys do maybe two stints in Europe. I've never seen three.
Mm-hmm.
I've never
That's
seen
also
three.
part of yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think you would need 3 years back at NYCFC, crushing it to draw attention again.
Joe makes a great Joe makes a great
Mhm.
point. He's still really young, and KP also makes a great point. He was doing well before injury.
Yeah,
So maybe, yeah, maybe
but that injury is scary, man.
that
It's a
injury is
bad injury
big.
too.
I don't know if they're considering how teams look at stuff like that. Like you look like damaged goods at that. That's the only reason why Hannes found himself in the MLS. That's
Mhm.
literally the only reason why Hannes found himself in the MLS.
Their business on that side too. But
but I think really the larger conversation for me is there's no shame in having a consistent MLS career. You're a working footballer. You make over $1 million a year. There's no shame in that. Like Morris and Ariola have one short stint
You
at
know, here's what
Swansea,
I'll
and they
say
came
though.
back to MLS. And then
There's
Morris
eight,
went back, I think, to Norwich. I could be wrong though.
dude. There's 8 billion people on the planet, 8 billion different opinions. And you know what? If Europe is where his passion is,
Yeah, yeah,
take
yeah,
another shot at. I mean,
yeah. If that's where his heart is, if that's what he really has his heart set on, then more
but
power to him. But then to answer your question, no, I would rather a player who takes pride in being
which
here in New York City and playing for New York City FC.
which actually, you know what? That opens up the question here because again, you tried the Rangers, didn't work out. He came back, signed the deal. All is basically forgiven in this case. Now that he left the second time, would he be embraced coming back here again?
He would. We
He's
love him
okay.
here. He absolutely would. We don't look at him as a and negatively or as a traitor. Like
I have
absolutely,
to
he would be
figure some fans.
embraced.
I figure some fans probably will.
No, even me, I'm sitting here talking about implying that his loyalty is a little shaky. No, even I would welcome James back with open arms. He
Mm,
would be, as a
okay.
matter of fact, he's exactly the profile of player that we need,
Hmm.
right? And throw in the fact that he already has years of experience in a partnership with Keaton that worked out in everybody's
Hmm.
favor.
Okay.
So no, no, no. He's always welcome back. Always welcome back. But he needs to come to terms with, hey, maybe you are the maybe you're the Landon Donovan.
Is
He's
that
not taking over.
Saquon Barkley? Oh, good lord.
That would be very nice.
Yeah, Saquon just signed that new deal too. You know what? I'm happy. I'm happy for him. He grew up in Pennsylvania. He went to Penn State. You know, um, the Giants inexplicably have both Jameis Winston and also Russell Wilson now, so that's going to be curious to see how that plays out.
Mm.
As a Giants fan, it does give me some hope in a weird way, but I don't know. Hope is an illusion when it comes to the Giants.
I wish I watched football so I knew what you were talking about.
Um, in the
I
last
know who
ten
I know
years,
who Jameis Winston is, but
I'll put it this way: the Giants and the Jets are second and third respectively in most
mhm.
losses over the last decade.
Mm.
Jacksonville's worse, then the Jets, and then Giants.
Oof.
Last 10 years. Yep.
All right,
Appreciate it. Thank you. And yes,
thank
look,
KP.
Shador, I could live with too. I mean, let's have some hope here, but they got Tommy Cutlets. It's going to like 4 quarterbacks. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to probably wrap this up too because I got to get up tomorrow 6:30 in the
Yeah.
morning. I got to
Oh
go to
yeah.
lawyers update a will. So
Yeah, I gotta take my cat to the vet. So
uh,
and at the same time. So
well,
very
have
early
fun
day
with that. We'll
tomorrow.
we'll talk we'll talk off air about that if you have a question on that.
Oh
Remember
yeah, for sure.
I'm married to a vet, so you know
Oh,
yeah.
there you go.
Robin's been a veterinarian for 20 years,
Oh.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
she yeah. It's a whole
Mhm.
difficult story. What
Uh,
are the chances we enter in Reina? Oh God, leave Gio Reyna alone.
well, mathematically,
Leave
there's a
Gio
chance.
Reyna alone. Leave
uh,
Gio Reyna alone. He's
I know
he's
it's
the he's
it's
a
Monday.
player. He's the U.S. national team player with the highest talent ceiling out of all of them,
Hmm.
but the shittiest, excuse my language,
All right.
the worst attitude, the worst attitude.
No.
And it's just an unfortunate situation for Gio. I hope he finds a better
Hmm.
situation somewhere in Europe. But if he were to come back to MLS, he's not leaving the MLS again.
Hmm. But I don't.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah. So. And by the way, on this note, yeah, you have TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Then you have basically FIA. What is it? FAIM. Fuck all. It's Monday. So. So.
uh, all right.
But all right, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, sorry, I was off.
I
Blew
wish
off
I
my
wish
name on
we
it.
I wish we handled the Tiago topic a little bit more gracefully because I just was worried. I didn't want the you know we our the New York City supporters, they are the type to take a topic and just run. You know what I mean? And I was worried that people were deciding who to blame, and I feel like there shouldn't be
Well, the
blame.
polls were on Twitter, and it was almost overwhelmingly Thiago on that one. And I think
Which
I'm
yeah,
inclined to agree. You know, because I guess
yeah,
again, when
which
you're running up with the arms to the side, you're taking yourself off the moment.
25 yards out, 25 yards out.
Yeah. So in this case here, like I said, you boot it in the stands, you regroup, you recharge. So they had a
Yeah,
conversation. I'm sure they cleared the air on this, and
I hope so.
playing at home is necessary in this case. So
Yeah, that's a great point, Joey. It's like everyone watching, it's obvious to us. We
yeah,
saw it. We all saw it, and we all were like, "Clear it!
yep,
Why aren't you clearing it?" No one in that moment was like, "Why isn't Matt coming for it?" You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But yeah, it's. I just hope we can all kind of calm down from this and realize actually it's great that we were able to score three on the road. So imagine what kind of form we're going to be in at home,
hmm
because we always tend to play well at home, even last season under Cushing when things were bad. Um,
And they were
so
better
yeah.
last season on the road than they were in 2023. I think
Oh
2023, I
yeah.
think they only had the one win. Last year, I think they had 4 or 5. I think it was.
Mm.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. So
What are the numbers regarding what are the numbers regarding the point total by at this point compared to last season?
um,
I agree
they
with
were they were
Davi.
at 3. I know they were at 3 points after 5 matches last year because they were 0-4 and I'm sorry, 1-4-0 last year.
Hmm.
So that was a big difference there. Give me a second. Let me see what they were at after 5. Let's
Four
see.
to
Yeah,
four to Davi said 4 points to 8 points.
yeah, they're at 4 points right now. They were at 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 6 matches in. 1, 4, and 1 respectively. They had the draw against Inter Miami, which okay,
Hmm.
fine. There was a road match against Inter Miami, fine. Then they drew on the road against. I'm sorry, at home against Atlanta United, and
Hmm.
that's when they went on the tear at that point. Because they've
Yeah.
had 8 wins out of 8. They went 8-1-0 on that run,
No.
including basically capped off by the Alonso Martinez hat trick. So I know, but in this
We're
case, yeah, it's too early to draw
it is it
comparisons.
is it is pretty early. Yeah, that's 100% correct. It is pretty
But you
early. It's
are
not.
but you are 4 points ahead of where you were at this point last year.
Hmm.
And typically 40 to 47 points will get you a playoff spot. I'm not saying like top four. Top four, I think, is like 51, I think, give or take. I think is the cutoff for top four spot on average. But just in this case here, that's a good
Philly.
starting point when you've had a lot of matches on the road. So
Did you see this one? Philly and Cincy at City Field. Huge test.
Philly
Uh,
is Philly's going to be interesting. In this case here, if
mhm.
they can contain Ty Bariba. But Bradley Cornell has done a fantastic job holding, with that team. I don't think a lot of people. I know that there is a well-established reporter over there for the Philadelphia Inquirer who basically all but dismissed the team this season. And I'm like, you know what, man, I think they can challenge, but no, I don't think anybody saw this kind of start that they were having here.
Yeah. Great take from Davi there. Pascal
Yeah,
he's cooking with scraps.
yeah.
He's like that old black grandmother who takes like the leftover ingredients in the fridge and makes a damn three-course meal like.
It's how I was raised, man. We had something called
Yeah.
push bread, which was bread where you sop up all the liquids on the plate. You know.
Did you ever have bread in like sweet milk? The thick sweet milk
No,
in the
I mean,
can?
no, not
That's
that I can
it's
recall.
so good. It's so good.
I
It's
mean,
so good.
I lived a lot on farina and oatmeal as a kid, but
Oh, I
um,
love farina. I love
I
farina. I still love
like I
farina.
like
I
the I like the hood. I like the top of farina, but the rest of it was kind of is.
I would
Um,
yam some farina right now, actually.
um, but yeah, Philly had a rough year last year. Curtin, I think,
They
had just
did.
taken a year off. I was kind of in a weird way rooting for Jim Curtin to come to NYCFC because that would
Yeah,
have
I was
absolutely
too.
just
I
made
was
it would make
too.
the
Yeah.
entire fan base just pissed.
Yeah. But it would have drawn the right kind of attention to the team. And also, Curtin wouldn't have shied away from saying, "Hey, bring some MLS veterans in here."
And also, remember, he also was Matt. It was also affiliation with Matt Freese and Julian Fernandez.
Yeah.
So there is
Yeah.
that bond already. And listen, Jim Curtin is one of the nicest guys in MLS. He really is. He is a
Mm.
smart guy. I was a little disappointed that he didn't come here because, I've gotten to know him a little bit over the last couple of years, and he is a sweetheart of
Oh,
a guy.
Perea.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's right.
Okay.
I said Fernandez. But yeah, I told you I'm off my game tonight. Sorry, man. I'll work. I promise next week. Going forward, I will be better. I probably give you my word there. So, yeah, reverse Saquon Barkley, but in a much more Kmart level way.
All right.
So, all right,
What
yeah.
do you
On
think
that
we What do you
note,
think we wrap it up?
since I had mistake fact number 87 incorrect tonight, we're gonna call this right now, so I don't lose what little shred of
Next time,
credibility I've got left.
we'll do a drinking game. Every time you misspeak or you have an error,
Oh, I better not get drunk on that. Oh dear God. Yeah. Okay.
it'll
I'm
be
gonna thousand.
fine.
I'm
It'll be
gonna basically make
fine.
sure that I will take you up on that because I got
Okay,
alcohol. I got scotch in the bar down there. I got wine in the fridge.
there you
Um.
go.
So okay, challenge accepted in this case here.
Yeah,
But it's also going to put me on point so this shit don't happen again.
yeah, there you go. But
You know.
then if you do make an error and you think it's going to take you off points, so I don't know. Listen, it's up to you if you want to stare down that barrel. But
You know what? I'm willing to take the challenge because I don't really back down from that kind of stuff.
okay, there you
But
go.
yeah, all right. But that's going to force light a little fire under my ass too. So
There you
all
go.
right. Anyway, appreciate the time, you guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank you guys for showing up and made the conversation very interesting. I
yeah, you
appreciate
guys
that.
are awesome. Grateful for that. So be well, guys. Take care.
All right.